All right, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate your patience. 12 minutes behind today, but it's much better than it was Tuesday night. So for those of you that don't know me, who might be here for your first time, I'm Sean Clancy, the town moderator. Again, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome you here to night 2 of Carver's annual town meeting. Please note that portable listening devices are available upon request. Just raise your hand. We'll get one over to you. Also, we have a portable microphone, which we put to good use on Tuesday night for those who are unable to approach the microphones in the aisles for debate or questions. So just simply raise your hand during debate, and someone will approach you with a microphone. All registered voters in the town are asked to sit in the front rows or the front parts of the room. If you are from out of town, non-registered voter, we ask that you use the my upper left-hand box over here, your upper right-hand side in the back there. So please make sure you stay in that area. And once again, we are recording and broadcasting tonight's proceedings, and that is being done by Area 58 Cable Television. And this is taking place in the Carver Middle High School Auditorium at 60 South Meadow Road in Carver, Massachusetts. And again, I want to thank you, Mike Shaw, for coming back again tonight to help us out with our audiovisual needs, and also to Rich Goulart and his team at Area 58. And Dade Seidentop for helping us get everything all set up here at the school today. So thank you so much to all of you guys. We started using the electronic voting system on Tuesday night. Looks like it worked out really well. A lot of great feedback, a lot of positive feedback from folks. So we will continue to use it tonight. It looks like it's helping us move the meeting along a little bit more smoothly. It's making it a lot more transparent in terms of what the vote count is. Helps us calculate the 2/3 vote a lot more quickly and a lot less in way of recounts. So all those are good things. Let's see here. A couple of things with regards to the electronic voting, though, as well, too. So make sure that when you are voting, you are pressing the either 1 or 2 button, the yes or no button. You do not need to press any other button. So I know that there's some other buttons on here. There's like a little paper airplane, and there's some other buttons, 3, 4, and 5. Do not press any of those buttons. You only need to press the yes or the no. And you should get an OK message on your screen with the number of your vote. So that is your confirmation that your vote was received. And so just please make sure to kind of be mindful of that as you're voting. All right, so with that said, Town Clerk Kara Dayhill has advised me that we do have a quorum of at least 150 voters that we need, and I therefore declare that a quorum being present, this Part 2 of our annual town meeting is called to order at 6:15 p.m. on April 14th, 2022. We'll go ahead and do our flag ceremony, our Pledge of Allegiance again. So all those who are able can please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we are going to try to abbreviate things a little bit here this evening. I will, again, introduce you to all the folks up front here for those of you who might not have been here on Tuesday night. There's a couple little changes as well. We will dispense with the code of conduct and rules and things like that, and we'll try to get ourselves right into business, okay? So, again, we have on our front left, or my front left over here, Scott Neef, our superintendent of Carver Public Schools. Welcome to clap. He's a great guy. Thank you. And we have amongst him the school committee, which is headed up by school committee chair Stephanie Clardy. And Stephanie, if you'd like to announce the other members of your committee.
Absolutely will do. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. To my immediate left is Jennifer Pratt. She is the current vice chair of the Carver School Committee. And to Jennifer's left is Kelly Nemi. She is the current recording secretary for the Carver School Committee. And to Kelly's immediate left is Colleen Zanuski, who is a current member of the Carver School Committee. Thank you very much.
Excellent. All right, and on my left up here as well, too, we have the Select Board, and the chair of Carver's Select Board is Mr. Mark Townsend.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Thank you all for coming back this evening. To my left is our Vice Chair, Sarah Hewins, and members Jen Bogart, Robert Belbin, and Jim Hoffman.
Excellent. Thank you. Up here in the front, on my right, we have our Finance Committee, and the chairman of our Finance Committee is Mr. Alan Germain. Mr. Germain, would you like to introduce the rest of the folks from your committee?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have Adam Holmes, the Vice Chair, Pat Maha, Beth Sulliger, McCullum, Walter Cole, Walter Cole, Ron Clark, and Marie Zwigman and Beth Sulliger are also capital outlay.
Excellent, thank you. And to round out the folks standing up here, on my left here, I have Mr. Robert Fennessy, our interim town administrator. And sitting next to him, Mr. Greg Corbo, our town council. And over here, way over on the right there, Ms. Cara Dayhill, our town clerk. And sitting next to her, we have Ms. Laura Perrine, our finance, sitting in for our finance director. And we've thrown Jeff DeMora right into the fire tonight, running our new voting system solo. So go easy on him, but he's got it. So thanks again for being patient with us as we introduce everybody. Thanks again for everybody coming back this evening. We talked about the paperwork that you were provided on Tuesday night, so just keep in mind that the warrant has all the articles that we're going to be going over this evening in the order that we're going to be going over them in. At least each article that we'll be voting on tonight, underneath the name of each article is a description of what is being voted on, followed by an informational summary explaining the article and perhaps some of the motivations behind it. After the informational summary is a proposed motion. So please note that before any business can be discussed, we do need to make a motion that needs to be seconded. And then there may be a short presentation by the sponsor of the article, and then we can go into debate and then eventually vote on it after debate is complete. Again, I'm going to dispense with the rules and whatnot that we went over on Tuesday night. One thing that I do want to make abundantly clear, though, is that on Tuesday night we had a lot of chatter and talking between debaters and also while people were debating. So we want to try to keep that to zero, really. We don't really want to have anybody talking. You do need leave of the moderator before you can address town meeting. So please keep any outbursts or shouting or things like that inside your subconscious. We would appreciate that, just to kind of keep things moving cordially and smoothly. Also, when it comes to points of order, just keep in mind that a point of order is regarding procedural errors that you may have identified, right? So if I've made a mistake in procedure, or if you think that in some way, shape, or form we've made a procedural error, that's what the point of order is for. If you don't agree with something that someone is saying, or if you feel like you need to correct something, the point of order is not what that's for. So you should let that person continue speaking, and then when you have your chance to speak in debate, you can bring forth your thoughts and your ideas and any differences that you may have. So just keep those pointers handy. Some things that were sort of noted from Tuesday night. Otherwise, during the course of the proceedings, we may have a few individuals who are not Carver voters who are required by their official duties to speak on an article, including town council, the town administrator, and other town employees. So unless I hear any objections, again, just like Tuesday night, we're going to allow these individuals to speak when recognized.
Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
The district has our lawyer coming at 8 o'clock and our executive director that may want to speak to our article. Could that be included?
So would that be included in someone's official capacity? Yeah. Yeah, so that would be considered someone who's speaking in official capacity because the town has hired him to be here. So, yeah.
The district is.
Okay, so seeing no objections, we will go ahead and allow those individuals to speak. We're also going to waive the reading of the warrant. We did this on Tuesday night, but again, just to be clear, we're going to, unless there's any objections, we're going to waive the reading of the warrant. Okay, so again, seeing no objections, we will go ahead with that. We're going to do a test question again tonight, just in case there's some folks that were not here Tuesday night using the voting system. We've got a new question for you tonight, and it's probably the most important question of the year, is will the Red Sox make the playoffs this year? So again, the way this will work is we will reread the article, and then we will say that, or I will say that the voting is now open, and then you will have 30 seconds to vote. You can change your vote. If you hit the wrong button, you can go and hit the other button and change your vote. And you have up until the point where we say the vote is now closed to place your vote. I'll give you a 10-second warning before the vote closes so that you can finish up. But that is how we'll operate. For this test question, I ask everyone to please vote so we get kind of an idea of how many people are voting in the room. That'll give us kind of an idea of what to expect to see throughout the rest of the evening, if that makes sense. So with that said, on the question of will the Red Sox make the playoffs, this does require a majority vote. And I don't know how the boards and committees have advised us on this one, so we'll just leave that to interpretation. But we're going to go ahead and open the voting now.
I try not to.
54.
Okay, 10 seconds remaining. And we'll close the vote. All right, and it looks like the motion fails. What? So with 93 yes and 62 no, the Red Sox will not make the playoffs this year. We have a lot of non-believers in the room. All right. Great. So that was a good warm-up, and seems like everybody's comfortable. So let's go ahead and get right into business here. So on Tuesday night, we left off with Article 5. So Article 5 is the transfer and disposition of 11 Green Street. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move the Article 5, transfer and disposition of 11 Green Street.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Do we have any presentation on this?
I'll be very brief, if I may. So this piece of property was in land court for many years, and the town was finally successful in acquiring it through that method. It is now in the care and custody of the Treasurer Collector's Office, and the Select Board voted 5-0 in favor of this article to transfer it to the Select Board. And the purpose for that is so that we can potentially sell it to an affordable housing organization as an affordable home for persons who were honorably discharged from the military. And that particular point was left out of the informational summary, so I thought it was worth repeating.
Excellent. We'll go ahead and open this for debate. Mr. Belbin?
Robert Belbin, 26 Gate Street. I'm all for this. I just want to let you know, one of the things is for, whenever we give a property to an organization, we have to be careful that the organization does not profit excessively off of it. One of the properties we did have in town, we sold it for $40,000. The person that bought it bought it for $125,000. $100,000 of that was a 0% interest rate. The other one was from a bank. I don't remember what the interest rate for that was. But they also got $90,000 plus from CPA. So if you do the numbers, it's about an $80,000 profit from it. Not that I'm against profit, but that I think was a little bit too much for that project. So I hope that what the information that you got on the Habitat for Humanity today, if you look on the back page, it says that raised by Habitat for Humanity is $66,000. I kind of look at that as part of our money that we gave them for it. So it's coming back to our town. Hopefully, if this all goes through, hopefully the Board of Selectmen will make an agreement with them that a portion of the funds created from this is given back to the town. So CPA can, if there's money left over for CPA, they get their money. And if there's money from the sale that's over a certain percentage, whatever they agree upon, that will go forward and come back to the town in some way, shape, or form, that we can use that for other affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belvin.
Mr. Chair, may I make a couple of corrections?
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, I want to make it very clear that the article says the disposition, the town would not be giving this home away. It would be for sale or lease, and the disposition is for a not-for-profit organization. So whoever would acquire this property cannot make a profit off of it by definition.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
Evening, Dan Badger, 165 Plymouth Street. I thought I should say just a couple words about this since may or may not know I was the person who started this trouble. A couple years back, we decided, a few of us, I'm an Army veteran myself, and should just let you know I've done a lot of work in the area of affordable housing for veterans and helping homeless veterans find homes in a lot of different capacities, whether it be for purchase, for leasing to buy, and also actually writing grants and facilitating grants to find vouchers for veterans to have stable housing. Now, this initial project was only 1/3 of what is a potential for what could be an affordable housing model for the town. And I don't want to get off track with the purpose of this, but I can tell you that I put a lot of time and care into making sure that who we are partnered up with isn't just a nonprofit, but actually the plan and how the money is rolled out made a lot of sense. Some of you may know of other projects that I've been involved in, and a true community project means that there is in-kind labor involved. And it means that monies that come from the town, I'm in favor of being for materials only, because we can get contractors to do the labor side of things. Now, a nonprofit is a business, but how the money is spent is not complex, as it's been laid out in the flyer that you may have looked at. There are materials, but also there are costs that we'll never have to deal with as a town. They have to handle the permitting. They have to handle other costs that will involve licensed technicians, plumbers, and so down the line to actually fix this place up. So what we're going to be talking about more in the follow-on article is has more to do with how those monies are spent through Preservation Committee, and I don't want to step on those toes, but I did want to share with you that this project is one that we've taken a lot of time to make sure that it is rolled out in an appropriate way, and one where the money spent are for materials only. And I personally will be on site as one of the volunteer laborers to make sure that the project is seen through as well. So I'd appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Excellent. Seeing no hands and no further motion to the mics, we'll go ahead.
Moderator, just so everyone's clear, this project will be put out for a request for proposal. There's no agreement with anyone yet. We still have to go to proposal, so just so everyone knows.
Yep. Thank you for clarifying. Awesome. So Again, seeing no hands and no motion of the mic, we'll go ahead and put this to a vote. This does require a 2/3 vote, and the Select Board recommended this 5-0. So we will now go ahead and open the vote.
Faster tonight. No, wait, yeah, results are fast.
Ten seconds. And we'll close the vote. All right, on Article 5, transfer and disposition of 11 Green Street, it passes with a 2/3 majority, 156 yes and 6 no. Next item of business is Article 6, the Community Preservation Committee report and recommendations. Do we have a motion?
Bob Bentley, 60 Wenham Road, Chairman of the Community Preservation Committee. I move Article 6 as written in the warrant.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Do we have any presentation on this, Mr. Bentley?
Yes, I do.
All right. Now would be the time, yeah.
We have to vote it?
What's that?
We have to vote?
No.
No.
Okay. So the Community Preservation Committee has written this article. It's in two different parts. It's Part A and Part B. Part A is largely boilerplate. It's the Community Preservation Act requires a certain amount of money being put into funds which are held in abeyance to make sure that we're covering the various items in the act that are required, which are affordable housing, open space and recreation, and historic preservation. 10% of the funds that we receive in Community Preservation Act funds are required to be put into each of those. The rest is put into an unrestricted fund. And then, so there's three things in, it's items B, C, D, item C, D, and E. Item A is Community Preservation Committee administration expenses. I can tell you, we've never spent $30,000. The money that doesn't get spent gets put right back into the unrestricted funds, and I tend to husband the money pretty carefully and not spend a lot of money. Item B is our estimated revenues or payment for the middle high school track and field debt, and that's year 4 of a 10-year bonded payment that has to be made. Part B is really the crux of what we're presenting tonight, and that is a request that was made to the Community Preservation Committee by the Habitat for Humanity of Greater Plymouth for $125,000 to pay for materials only, and that will be basically, it will be to renovate a structure, hopefully the structure on 11 Green Street, but that has not been acquired yet, and if that doesn't get accepted, then that becomes moot, and the whole article becomes moot. We understand that. Habitat understands that. The monies will be expended for materials, which does include plumbing contractors and electrical contractors. So it's not just materials, it's for their expertise also, because they have to pay for that. But any money that's not expended in terms of materials will be returned back to the committee and put into our unrestricted funds. So it doesn't become an automatic grant to the Habitat. It becomes if they spend only $115,000, $10,000 comes back to the Community Preservation Committee unrestricted fund. We think it's a great project. It's written specifically to be done for an affordable house for a veteran and a veteran's family. We anticipate that it's going to be pretty competitive. I've been asked a number of times, can we make sure it's just a Carver vet? And unfortunately, Department of Community and Housing Development does not allow for us to earmark it specifically for a Carver vet, although we'd like to. We feel that it's a great project. The Community Preservation Committee has been looking for a long time to come up with a project that will, another affordable housing project, because we've done so few. We are always looking for affordable housing projects. We think these are great things in terms of benefit to the community, and we hope you'll support us.
Thank you, Mr. Bentley. All right, we'll go ahead and open it for debate now. Yeah, Mr. Belbin.
Robert Belbin, 26 Gate Street. My annual question to you is how much is in each one of the accounts? That's my usual one. And the second one is, can we, I guess this is a town council through you, Mr. Moderator, is can we take out Habitat for Humanity and have any other organization for this article? Is that available or no?
It would be an amendment.
Before I put an amendment, I just want to know if it's legal for us to do that or not. I don't want to waste the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. So it's ultimately the moderator's call to decide that. However, in deciding whether or not an amendment is appropriate, it has to be within the scope of the original article, which is, did the voters have notice of what they would be voting on? In my opinion, this article is to award CPA funds for the rehabilitation of this property for affordable housing, and the particular agency that may or may not do the work is not a material part of this for purposes of notice. But again, it's up to the moderator's discretion if he were to allow an amendment like that.
Okay.
Can you repeat exactly what you're...
Well, Mr. Moderator, I want to ask you, Mr. Bentley, is that okay or no?
Mr. Moderator, we held a public meeting as required by law on March 17th, specifically discussing this project and the proponent. We haven't received any other proposals from any other proponent, and I would find it hard to accept a change like this.
That's fine. I'm not going to make the change. I just wanted to put it out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Moderator, unfortunately, I don't have the other numbers in front of me in terms of the actual amounts per for the various categories.
Okay. Thank you. On the left here, yes.
Yeah, I'm Jim Middleton. I'm Executive Director of Habitat. I'm not a resident of the town, so if it's not in order for me to speak.
So yeah, since you're not a resident of the town and you're not speaking in official capacity, we will need to ask the town to vote to let you speak, sir. Okay? Let's see here. So I'm going to need a motion to let this gentleman speak.
Mr. Moderator, I move that Mr. Middleton be allowed to speak as the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity.
Second.
Excellent. I have a motion and I have a second. This is debatable, so we'll open it for debate.
Call the question.
Okay. Seeing no hands and no motion to the mic, this does require a majority vote. Do we have this prepared to go up on the screen? Just give us one moment. And we'll go ahead and open the vote. Ten seconds. And we'll close the vote. All right. Oh, I just lost the results, but I think it passed. All right. So the motion passes with 148 yes and 19 no. And we apologize, there's a little bit of configuration error there, and we ended up doing the grid format, which it doesn't show, who's voting how, but there we go. All right. So, sir, you're welcome to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and everyone here this evening. We are Habitat for Humanity. We are celebrating 25 years. We started in this town. We've always been headquartered in Carver. We're proud to say that we have not only built an affordable home about 11 years ago, which has been home to a thriving family since that time, but we've also done a lot of repair projects over the years where we fix up houses that are in ill repair, always doing things that are in the affordable category for people whose incomes are low to moderate, and a lot of times that means senior citizens. So we do those fix-up projects, we do wheelchair ramps. A few years ago, we became involved as a certified veteran build affiliate for Habitat for Humanity, the national organization. And through that, and all the connections that we've made and that we're honored and proud to be able to have built some homes for veterans, this project came to our attention, and it just makes so much sense. It's in a historic district. A number of us who work with Habitat or are volunteers live in historic houses, so we're really hopeful that we can acquire this project and carry it forward. It'll end up being an affordable home for a veteran family. It's a preference for a veteran. We can't absolutely guarantee it, but as long as veterans apply, they'll have the priority for it. It'll be a 3-bedroom home. It will be handicap accessible on the first level if that's necessary for accommodations for the family that gets it. We have, being a nonprofit, and I'll very quickly address the question that was brought forward, which I think is a good question. What happens to funds that don't get expended? We don't ever get those funds, and the process that community preservation has in place is the process that we will follow. We'll pay out of our pockets for the materials and professional installation where that's required. Then we'll be able to submit that bill to community preservation, and they will certify that the work is done to the satisfaction of their review of it. And from then on, we would get reimbursed. Any amount that's not utilized for those purposes will never even be applied for. So it's not a matter that we would get this as an outright grant and be able to keep additional funds. Does Habitat put money into this? The answer is yes. We are a nonprofit. We rely on community individuals, grants, the towns that we are able to work in to help us put together these projects. Above and beyond that, it's all volunteers, and I'll bet if I asked for a show of hands, there would be quite a few people in this room this evening who have helped on a Habitat project, and we invite people, assuming that we get this through the bid process, that we go ahead and engage the entire community in doing it, because it's going to be a really wonderful community building project that I think you will all be proud of. So thank you for your time and consideration of it, and we appreciate everything that you all do and all the work that you all put into all of this. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yep.
Dan Badger, 165 Plymouth Street. Just want to thank Mr. Middleton for his time. As I mentioned before with the project, I didn't want to talk about money on the Article 5 side of things, but now we're here. So the big word is reimbursement. It is money that will be reimbursed. So Habitat will be putting out the funds and doing the work and then invoicing the town. So in terms of, and this was a very important thing to me, I didn't want our town getting used in a way that money would be spent and that we'd be, profited off of. And being part of the Preservation Committee, that's an important thing that we've talked about over and over again. And so in terms of how this process and how the money is triggered is such that, we as a town, the Preservation Committee, in concert with reporting to the Select Board on our activities, is one where we do have control over the fiscal side of things and are able to also monitor the quality of control in terms of not just that work has been done and paperwork has been invoiced and paid and so forth, but actually that it's a quality job. And the actual in-kind contractor labor are skilled laborers. It's people who have worked with me know that there are sort of cheerleader tiers and there are helpful helpers, and then we have skilled laborers actually working in these projects. And so it's one that will be professionally done, and it's one that I'll be proud to volunteer for, and I'll be looking to recruit fellow helpers as well down the road when we get to that point. And hopefully it is with Habitat. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, seeing no motion of the mics and no hands.
Moderator.
Oh,
Just so everybody knows, CPC came before the FinCom, and everybody in this room knows exactly what CPC has done for this town. So FinCom voted 7-0 to support this article.
Mr. Moderator?
Sir.
Mike Palmieri, 164 Plymouth Street. I heard on the previous article that this was for veterans only, and I just heard discussing this article that it's not guaranteed for a veteran, but preferred. I'd like some clarity on that.
Mr. Bentley.
Mr. Moderator, the initial intent is for a veteran. It's not absolutely guaranteed, but the initial intent is for a veteran. If the veteran and his or her family decides to sell it in the future, apparently, according to affordable housing laws, it cannot be specifically maintained for veterans, but the whole intent would be to hopefully keep it for veterans.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Yep, Ms. Hewens.
Just an additional point, the Department of Housing and Community Development has something in the deeds that they write that stipulates veteran preference. So they can't guarantee it, but that's their preference. So I feel sure we'll have enough veterans and their family members in line that they might actually succeed.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Belvin.
It just threw you to the town finance director. Do we have the amounts on each one of the historic, the recreation, and the housing? How much is the total in those accounts now? Just so the public knows.
Do we have that information, Mr. Jermaine?
I don't know, unless
I'm sorry, this was to our finance director.
she's got the
Moderator, I think I have that number.
She's looking up. Do you have the information?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So right now, there's 1.1 million in the account for CPC, and we're adding 800, well, we're not adding. State has added 890,000 into that, so it's bringing it up to nearly 2 million. Not 2,000, 2 million.
Is that what you were looking for, Mr. Belvin?
Well, each one's dedicated funds for historic recreation, and this is more for the public to know that the funds are out there, and you can go to the CPA and the CPC and ask for the money. So if you know how much is in there, the public, then they'll understand that, oh my God, if I have a project that I want to see done in the town, this is what's available. So I think that's an important number that we have tonight.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, seeing no motion of the mics and no hands raised, we'll go ahead and put this to a vote. This does require a 2/3, I'm sorry. This does not. I got to turn the page here.
majority.
This requires a majority vote, and I don't have the recommendations, although Mr. Jermaine did give us his recommendation, his committee's recommendation already, but Select Board, was yours?
The Select Board recommended this article 4-0.
4-0, excellent, okay. So with that said, we will go ahead,
Mr. Moderator, as is printed in the warrant, the Community Preservation Committee voted 6-1-1.
excellent, thank you. Sorry, my copy does not have a lot of that information, so Appreciate that. All right, and with that said, we will open the vote.
See, it doesn't say okay yet.
Yeah, mine was very delayed.
Gained a few people.
10 seconds.
It's me, but
170, that's good.
people are going to vibrate every half an hour.
And we'll close the vote.
62 to 11.
Close?
It doesn't seem right. There is a technical error.
Why doesn't it seem right?
Why does it say poll?
It's 162.
Set up for a majority vote.
I've had more people.
Unless there's a setting on
I failed the air conditioning. Oh, sorry.
Changing the name of the road.
I haven't had flashes since I was 13, which is cool. After I had my hysterectomy 6 years ago.
So while we have a scary red bar across the top that says that it failed, Article 6 does pass with 162 yes and 11 no. We will try to see if we can get that fixed for the next one. Sorry about that.
Let's see, 653.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Article 7, collective bargaining agreements. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $154,860 from local receipts. This is the amendment.
Just move it as printed on.
Okay. I move Article 7 as printed in the amendments to motion handout in the packet.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Do we have any presentation on this?
Yes, so these are for 3 contracts, collective bargaining contracts for the town. We went into collective bargaining with the highway department, the O&M, the dispatchers, the police dispatchers, and the clerical unions. So the total of all that comes out to $154,860.
Excellent, thank you, sir. And we will go ahead and open it for debate. All right, seeing no motion of the mics and no hands.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Belbin?
Go ahead, Ann. Go ahead, Ann.
What was the select board vote? Mine says 0-0. Did they vote on it? Not?
I was just about to ask, but
Oh, sorry.
He did. The Select Board recommended this article 3-1.
excellent. Mr. Belbin?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Fennessy and all of the department heads. They did an excellent job with this, and these are great contracts for our employees and the town also, so please support it.
Thank you, Mr. Belbin. Okay, seeing no hands and no motion of the mics, we'll go ahead and put this to a vote. It does require a majority vote, and we've heard the Select Board's recommendation, so we'll go ahead and open the vote.
Not working.
I got mine.
Now I have it.
I had to do it 3 times. That's why I guess we got to look at it. Oh, we're not taking this up.
Already?
Too early.
It's a different song, was it not? It might have been.
We're in the middle of a vote, so we'll give you 10 more seconds, sorry.
Oh, it wasn't. It was.
Is the point of order regarding the vote itself, or you're having trouble with the clicker or something?
No, it appeared that once you said they were starting the voting, it took about 10 to 15 seconds, so
sure that they voted.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yep, thank you. So just make sure that, that you know that you've actually voted. Make sure that you get that okay on your clicker. So, and that's a good point in general too, is that there is a little bit of a delay, even if we get it up on the screen right away, there can be a few seconds delay. So just make sure you have that okay on your screen. All right, we'll go ahead and close the vote now. All right, and the article passes with a majority vote of 137 yes and 21 no. All right, on Tuesday night we did Article 8, so we're going to skip over that and move on to Article 9.
Good.
Acceptance of Green Parkway. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town approve Article 9 as set forth in the warrant.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made and seconded on Article 9. Do we have any presentation?
Yes. So this is to change the name of the Green Parkway. And this was initially voted, the Select Board voted to lay out the portion of Montello Street and refer the matter to the Planning Board, which had 45 days to make a non-binding recommendation to the Select Board. On the receipt of the Planning Board recommendation, the Select Board voted to lay out the new section of Montello Street. The plan showing the road was submitted to the town clerk at least 8 days prior to this town meeting, and this is basically the final step in changing the name of that portion of the road.
Thank you, sir. We'll go ahead and open it for debate. Okay, seeing no motion in the mics and no hands raised, this does require a 2/3 vote, and the Select Board recommended this 5-0. We will now go ahead and open the vote.
This one's going to take a while.
10 seconds. And we'll close the vote. All right, with a 2/3 majority, the article passes with 146 yes and 26 no. Moving on to Article 10, Table of Dimensional Requirements, Building Height in Green Business Park. Do I have a motion?
It's going to be a long one. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town approve Article 10 as amended in Appendix G as set forth in the warrant.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion that's been made and second on Article 10. You have some presentation?
All I can say about this, and then maybe I'll defer to the IDA and Mr. Cole, is that we had 2 joint meetings, the Planning Board and the IDA last week, and we went through Articles 10 through 17, and this is all for the Green Business Park. So with that, so on this particular article, the Planning Board voted 3-2 to recommend a favorable action on Article 10.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Yep, over here.
To me?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening. My name is Sharon Clark, 3 Bolton Street, and I'm here tonight before you as a, whoa.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Point of order, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah.
As the RDA is not a municipal agency, but is in fact an independent body and a corporate agency, I would request that all presentations be strictly kept to the article at hand.
Okay. Yeah, I would think that that's their intent. Is that your intent?
Well, Article 10 is in regards to a 65-foot building height, and I would respectfully request that all presentations be directly related to that article.
Do we have reason to believe that they wouldn't be?
Well, they're not a municipal agency, they're a corporate agency, and they're giving a presentation. So I'm asking that the moderator limit it to the article at hand, please.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, I think it may be that the redevelopment authority is intending to give an omnibus presentation on the following several articles that relate to this project. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I see.
And so the objection is that the voter would like to see that presentation limited to only this article.
Okay.
However, in your discretion or with leave of the meeting, you can allow the presentation to go forward since these articles are all, related to each other.
Sure.
Mr. Moderator, the presentation was available at the public hearings that were held and therefore publicly accessible, and that's why I think it should be kept limited strictly to the article at hand.
On what grounds? So
They're not a municipal agency to begin with. They're a corporate agency, an independent body politic. They're not part of the town government, and they had the opportunity at town hearings to give, at the public hearings, to give an omnibus presentation. I am simply requesting, just like anybody else, any public speaker that might come up here to address an article, that it be limited to the article at hand.
okay, I mean, it's like as far as I know, their presentation is related to articles that are on the warrant. So as long as they're staying within the scope of articles on the warrant, I don't see any issue with that.
Well, a motion has been made.
Otherwise, their presentation has they have told me that their presentation is within roughly within the confines of the typical limits of debate. So I don't see an issue.
Again, a motion has been made to open the article, and all comments should be strictly related to that article.
Mr. Moderator, if it will make things easier, I'll propose a motion to allow the RDA to present their entire presentation on all the related articles.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to allow the RDA to speak on not just Article 10, but the related articles that come thereafter.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator. Is this open for discussion?
Well, it's a little uncharacteristic, so hold on one sec. Yeah, we'll go ahead and make it debatable.
Mr. Moderator, in past meetings, I have tried to discuss different articles and they've been called out of order when you try to talk to one to another. So I just want to be clear that this is a new precedence that we can now vote to have the public discuss multiple articles dealing with a town meeting warrant. Typically, you talk about one warrant article and one warrant article only.
Sure.
Like I said, this has been in the past. You've ruled against it.
Right. Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're not held to previous precedents, but I see your point. So the issue that we run into here is that no item of business, no article is guaranteed, right? So we may not make a motion on another one, and it might not be brought up. So I think it makes sense to keep it focused on the individual article that's open for debate right now. So we will not move forward with the motion to allow everyone to allow you guys to speak on all of the articles that you want to speak on, and we'll try to focus on Article 10, and then we'll have you come up and speak on the other ones as well too. Does that make sense?
Point of order. Motion.
Okay, point of order.
On Tuesday's night meeting, there was a presentation given, and it had verbiage on it, and it was not allowed to be shown. So what is the difference from this presentation to the one that was given on Tuesday night? No, but it was presented on...
So the presentation that was given in debate. So it was given by a resident in debate. This presentation, as far as I understand, is it was communicated to me that it was being done as a sponsor of the article. So if that's not the case, then you would be correct. But are they technically sponsors of the article?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay, so our understanding is that the RDA and the planning board are jointly sponsoring this article, so they would be allowed to make a presentation.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator, that's not correct.
Okay, how so?
The planning board did not sponsor this article. There's an email going out that's saying that the Board of Selectmen supposedly did it.
It was, sorry, Mr. Moderator, as a point of clarification, it was clearly made during the public hearings that the planning board is not a sponsor of this article, and we had no power to amend or change these articles.
And the select board took no action on this.
Okay, so who is the sponsor of the article?
The redevelopment authority as identified in the warrant.
Okay, and are you representative of the redevelopment authority?
I am.
Okay, so therefore, if you are representative of the redevelopment authority and you're the sponsor, redevelopment authority is the sponsor of the article, then you would be permitted to make a presentation.
I have a point of order. I've been waiting.
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
I have a point of order. There was a motion made on the floor and a second, so we are required to move forward with that first, and then you can go back and decide how to do this any way you want.
We're addressing points of order, so a point of order can be made at any
But
given
I
time.
want to
yeah.
remind you that we have a motion on the floor and a second. That needs to be dealt with. That's proper procedure.
I dismiss it. I already ruled the motion out of order, so it's been dismissed.
Well, you didn't make that clear.
Okay, so the motion is out of order. That is clear now. Yep. You'll have to step to a mic, please.
How far did we make it? Didn't even make it.
Kim Shea, 148 Plymouth Street, as pointed out by Cornelia Shea, that the redevelopment authority is its own body politic. We need to vote to allow them to speak. And in fact, they are not allowed to bring forth warrant articles to the planning board. It should have been done through the planning board. These shouldn't even be on this warrant to begin with.
So are you a resident, ma'am?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so she's allowed to speak. In terms of whether or not the item was brought onto the warrant legitimately, I'd have to defer to legal counsel.
Could you please defer to legal counsel on this?
Who recommended on the warrant? You might want to clear that up.
I can speak to that.
You're not legal.
I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear what he has to say.
Why don't you go tell him?
Why are we having this discussion now?
Glad I brought a chair.
Here comes this one.
Yes, RDA. It has been vetted.
All right. I mean, it's not a legal matter. It's just a matter of like procedure, right? Like. Okay, all right. So as it seems, so the article is on the warrant because the select board put it on the warrant. It is not their article, and it is not clear exactly whether we would consider either the RDA or the planning board to be the sponsor of the article. So with that said, we would have to hold anybody speaking in debate on this article to the rules of debate unless I heard a motion to suspend the limits of debate. Okay, I have a motion to suspend the limits of debate for the speaker here.
I make a motion to suspend the limits of debate and to allow the speaker.
Yeah, we already had a motion, so it's been made and seconded. It requires a 2/3 vote, and there is no debate. Go ahead, get that set up on the screen here.
We're going to suspend the rules.
Oh, do we have to? Yeah.
Can you tell us what we're voting on so we have a clear?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So we have a motion on the floor to suspend the rules of debate for the next speaker, and this requires a 2/3 majority. So if you vote yes, then we would suspend the rules of debate to allow the speaker time to make their presentation, and to make a presentation in such a fashion that we would not normally do during debate. If you vote no, then we would not suspend the rules of debate, and the speaker would have to follow the typical rules of debate. So with that, we'll go ahead and, do you have a point of order, or?
May I make a motion to postpone
We already
this?
have a motion on the floor, so unless it's an amendment.
No, I was going to make a motion to take this off the table, this vote for the height.
What's that?
Yeah, it was seconded.
Kind of a jerk move, but yeah. Yeah, I don't see that this has a lot of merit to it. So I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to determine if town meeting will allow these people to speak beyond the limits of debate, and we need to dispense with that. Like, I think that this is just sort of a blocking move. So let's just let the town meeting speak.
I was just going to say that I found it confusing also that the zoning amendments are significant, and it didn't seem that the planning board was involved with them. And
Okay, so your comments are regarding the article, not regarding what we're about to vote on right now. So you're going to have to hold those comments until we discuss the article.
With all due respect, Mr. Moderator, we have a motion on the board. We're ready to vote.
Right. Yeah, and the motion is not debatable. So unless I have a point of order, we're moving on. So
Point of order.
is this procedural in nature? What's
If the select board didn't support
Not a
this,
point of order.
the planning board didn't support this,
That's not a point of order. That's not a point of order. I'm sorry. Point of order is procedural in nature. Okay. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and open the vote on this. Oh, we've already opened the vote.
We open the vote?
Yeah, clear it and start over. Okay. We will now open the vote.
There it goes.
The vote should be a pretty clear indication about how the article
Well, it's a two-thirds vote to clear the article. I think you guys are in for a tough time. I think this was handled poorly.
10 seconds, and please keep it down, everyone. Again, we speak only through the moderator. And we'll close the vote. Again, everybody, please quiet down. So the motion does not pass by two-thirds majority with 95 yes and 73 no. So the speaker will not be permitted to speak as a presentation. They will be held to the rules of debate. So that means that you will have 3 minutes to speak, and you'll have 2 opportunities to come up to speak. Do we have a point of order, or because I have to recognize?
I have a point of order.
Okay.
Rob Reardon, 30 Priscilla Mullins Way. The other night, Mr. Belbin got up. He probably spoke for 10 minutes about Cranberry Village. I think to make an informed
He
decision,
didn't speak for 10 minutes. Yeah, I timed him. He spoke for 4.5
So he
minutes.
probably argued for about 4 minutes with you before he got up and did his presentation for 5. So I think we're at about 9 minutes, just to be honest.
I don't see your point. So
The point is you allowed somebody the other night to have a valid amount of time. These people are
So
trying to
by that argument, then she would have no time left because we've used up her time by arguing.
She wasn't arguing. But Mr. Belbin was arguing. Everyone else is doing the arguing.
Right.
This is unfortunately why people don't come here, because it just wastes so much time.
Okay, you're no longer in a point of order.
Matt Keniston, 9 Center Street. I'd like to make a motion that we table the current article so that we can have a vote to have the full presentation in full, separate from the warrant, so we're not within the rules of that warrant, such that the town can be fully informed on whatever the RDA is trying to present to us right now, so we can all have the information, so we can then vote on those articles fully informed.
So the motion is to
Table the current warrant, or article, I'm sorry, excuse me, so that we can come back to it, and separately we will vote to see this presentation.
I don't see how the outcome would be different if we
Because
revisit it.
the point of order or the point of contention is that this presentation is beyond the bounds because we're within the article. If we are tabling the article, we are no longer within the article, and we are separately having a presentation that is not within the bounds of the specific article and can therefore contain multiple articles within it. Therefore, we can just get this over with, be done, go vote on the stuff so we can continue on with our night and be informed.
We can't entertain any business that we don't have a motion for, though.
I'm motioning to table. And then there would be a second motion I would make beyond that if we are successful in table to hear that full presentation.
We've already heard a motion from people to say that they do not want to allow this individual to suspend the rules of debate. So they've already spoken on that, and the outcome of what you're asking for is very similar to that. So it would be the same. I feel like you're just wasting time. Sorry.
I'm not sure, Gail Now and 15 Old Main Street, I'm not sure what category this is, but the suspended votes, I'm not sure that they worked, and they are very quick. So can we take 2 minutes to do that vote again?
So what do you mean suspended votes?
You said we can vote, and then there was conversations. I'm not sure if they were working accurately. I voted several times, but I'm not sure.
So
Are you sure that they worked accurately for that vote? Yes. Even though it was suspended for like 6 or 7 minutes. You see
75.
the question?
Yeah, we cleared it, and then we restarted the vote, and we gave everybody an opportunity to vote, and we had
I don't know if
100.
everybody redid their votes.
How many votes did we have, sir?
We had 95, 75. It's
I'm not sure how that worked. That's all.
It was 165.
We had 165 votes. That's what we've been averaging for.
Okay.
Everybody's worked.
Okay. With that said, we had somebody that was waiting to speak on this article, Ms. Clark. Ms. Clark, would you still like to speak on the article? Okay. 3 minutes, and I have a feeling that folks in the room are going to hold you to it.
So at this point, we're just speaking on the 65-foot.
Yep, Article 10.
Okay, so everything I've written is probably gone. Can I use this, can we use some of our slides, at least show them where the property is?
Yeah, I think any visual aids that represent something that you can't put into words would be admissible.
Okay. Okay, don't start my clock just yet, okay?
Can't afford a second one?
No, you just need to,
Did come to us.
do you need to go up there and do it?
Like, I don't understand.
Okay, so I don't.
I really don't understand that.
Okay.
He's probably got a dozen in his briefcase.
Slide 6, and so it's.
I mean, it's.
Slide 6 will show you the location. Slide 7 will show you the aerial. You go all the way to slide.
Exactly.
1 second.
You guys are doing
You know,
great.
a year of preparation. Oh, you're not going to get that one, so.
Being able to see it.
In slide 24.
Okay, so 6, 7,
24.
and 24. You hang on to this. Mr. Bott, can you, oh, wow. Okay, well, once again, I'm Sharon Clark, the chairman of the Carver Redevelopment Authority, and tonight we're proposing an amendment for the Green Business Park only, and that is to raise the allowed height from 40 feet to 65 feet. The Green Business Park is, as you can see, the outlined area. It's a section in Carver that's been a stump dump, took in, debris from the big dig. It was a septic waste treatment plant, and it's about 300 acres. It was a brownfield. It was cleaned up by a Superfund. I am condensing everything as fast as I can here. In 2010, we designated this as the Green Business Park for industrial development. The Carver Redevelopment Authority was formed by this body in 2006 to encourage industrial, commercial development for Carver. We have a split tax rate, and we need to develop some kind of another revenue stream. This is our biggest.
Sorry, we have a point of order. Can you speak in the microphone, sir?
He said I was off topic. I can hear him.
Sorry, it's off topic.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with the 65-foot building height? It's off topic.
Can you speak to how this is relevant to the 65 feet requirement?
Yes, I can. The property, the 300 acres, Tom, can you show slide 7, please? 300 acres is currently owned by an individual developer. He has been developing the property since 2013. He is ready to sell it. He can sell it at 40 feet, a 40-foot height. There are many uses that this property can have at 40 feet. The one I generally use is it can be the equivalent of 80 super Walmarts, but it can also be several other uses. It's most desirable to be used as a warehouse distribution center. Amazon, Wayfair, we've been through the COVID, we know what comes in boxes. At 65 feet, in the last couple of years at 65 feet, the industry has simply changed. Instead of a 40-foot giant flat warehouse, the 65 feet allows for 40 feet of clearance inside and an automated racking system. This property has attracted a national builder who has been negotiating with the town in order to build what would be a 65-foot distribution center. Our first concern was, we have fire issues, we have safety issues, we have police issues, and with the permission of body tonight, I would like our police, fire, and safety chiefs to speak to what their negotiations of how they can handle the increase in height from a 40-foot building to a 65-foot building.
We're at 3 minutes, so we got to ask you to wrap it
Going
up.
to 4, but a 65-foot building on this 300-acre site.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Excuse me, point of order, just to make it clear, the Select Board did not sponsor this article, and it is documented in approved minutes. So when these were brought to the Select Board, questions were asked multiple times, who is this from? And it was always from the RDA. It was asked if it was Planning Board, we were told no. It's in approved minutes. So the body needs to know the Select Board did not sponsor this article.
Sure. Yeah, I think we mentioned that before, too. Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
No, you're not owed a rebuttal. I'm sorry. You may want to choose your time wisely because you do have another appearance for 3 minutes if you'd like. Yep, over here on the right.
Yes, when this urban renewal project first, Kim Branch, 2 Cherry Hill Drive. I apologize. When the abutters were concerned with the height, what was said to them that they shouldn't be concerned because the height would be restricted by the present zoning, which was 40 feet. And so now it seems that we are attempting to kind of circumvent because they can ask for a variance, but that was the concern of the abutters at that time. And this is a significant zoning change. And at that time, it was Maureen McCullough, I believe, and she said major plan amendments referring to MEPA and the environmental impact reports must be approved in advance. So everything that was submitted with MEPA and the environmental impact report, the only zoning change that was indicated on that was Julie Kahn's property. That was the only one. But now we have several zoning changes. And even I couldn't see where the planning board studied these. But what I do see on mass.gov is that the powers and liabilities of an urban renewal agency are similar to those of a housing authority, that their fiduciary responsibility is to George McLaughlin, is to the developer. They are a separate entity. They have separate liabilities. They should have their separate attorneys as well. So that's been confusing for my family as we've researched this. Thank you.
Thank you. She said her name and address. Okay, let's not belabor. Yes, sir.
Hi, everybody. Savory Moore, 12 South Main Street, also Vice Chair of the Redevelopment Authority. If you pick this up on your way in, this is a chart of what a yes or no vote means. I'm going to go through very quickly on Article 10, which is what we're speaking about now. Will these properties be developed? If a yes vote, yes, they will be. If a no vote, yes. Regardless of the vote, this land will be developed. 1.8 million square feet of building is allowed by law. Potential allowable uses include small manufacturing, a distribution center, manufacturing or storage facilities, business parks, and hotels. Who will develop the property? If it's a yes vote, a company named Hillwood is the primary developer who wants to come in. They have been working with the town and have community benefit agreements in place with all our emergency services, which unfortunately you may not be able to hear about tonight because of the previous vote. A no vote means we don't know who will develop the property. It could be split up and be 10 different developers, all who will have no reason to deal with emergency services, putting the onus on the town. Building height, up to 65 feet will allow a state-of-the-art facility. Up to 40 feet will restrict development options and limit community benefits. Building constructed, probably 2, totaling 1.8 million square feet. How many buildings with a no vote? It's unknown. 1.8 million square feet of building area is currently allowed. It could be 10 buildings of 180,000 square feet each. Special permit process, town project review and conditions. With a yes vote, yes, multiple permits are required. A no vote, not required. For many uses, including manufacturing, wholesale warehouses, a printing company, solar panel manufacturing, and others, don't require special permits. Personal and property taxes, up to $5 million a year into town coffers with a yes vote. With a no vote, less than $2 million. Job creation, 300 construction and trade jobs with a yes vote, and 800 to 900 full-time jobs with a no vote. With a yes vote. With no, it's 200 construction jobs and maybe 500 to 600 full-time. Additional community benefits. There are $7 million in place for emergency services with a yes vote. With a no vote, there are none. Traffic generation.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator. This is not about building height, it's about voting.
This is all the benefits, what a yes and no vote means on a 65-foot height, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with letting him continue here.
All right, so traffic generation of about 8,000 car trips a day, which is 4,000 cars, and maybe 460 trucks a day, truck trips, which is 230 trucks. With a no vote, with different things that can be built by right, there could be 8,000 to 17,000 car trips a day and 400 to 700 truck trips per day. Upgrading the Route 44-58 intersection. With a yes vote, the developer pays for it.
Mr. Moore, we're at 3 minutes.
Right? All right, the developer pays that $10 million. The last thing I want to mention very quickly, through you, Mr. Moderator, if I may. With a yes vote, the town gets a water tower built by the developer, turned over to the town of Carver, which will provide steady water to North Carver residents. No, I'm sorry, that's footnote, that's the footnote.
All right.
It's a footnote in Article 10.
All right, order. Okay.
Mr. Moderator.
Hold on 1 sec. I've already ruled on allowing him to finish, so we're going to allow him to finish. No more points of order from you. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, through you, a water tower for municipal use is a footnote in Article 10.
Okay.
So a water tower with a yes vote is built by Hillwood, given to the town, helping everybody with better water pressure and allowing for fires to be put out. A no vote means no improvements to the town water system. And that's what I have on Article 10. And we've got a few more to go.
Over here on the right.
Liz Taylor, 31 Russell Trufant. I just wanted clarification on this. As I'm reading through, at the bottom of page 8 on the warrant, it says, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in the zoning bylaw, building height shall mean the vertical distance measured from the mean finished grade. I'm reading it verbatim. I'm just confused a little bit. Of the ground adjoining the building or improvement to the highest point of the building or improvement, provided steeples, cupolas, stage lofts, penthouses, bulkheads, rooftop mechanicals, rooftop solar. So I take that to understand that that would be ground level to 60 feet. The next sentence, rooftop mechanicals and rooftop solar will be included in the determining of the overall height of the building, whereas before, in the previous sentence, it says they shall not be considered. I'm just looking for clarification that if any installations, i.e. cell towers, et cetera, are installed on top of these buildings, will it, or solar, is it included in the height or is it not included in the height? Because it sort of says one thing and then immediately one sentence later says, yes, it's going to be included, and then the next sentence says, no, it is not included.
Wow, you know what, she's right.
Hold on 1 sec.
Imagine that. Right. Holy smokes. I know it's hard to believe.
That's what happens when you have the RDA.
That's right.
So I would say by point of order, we can't continue with this because
Hold
it's
on.
not clear.
Yep.
It is, it's contradictory.
It's contradictory. It doesn't, it's written incorrectly. So we
Yep.
can't say yes and no in the
Okay,
same article.
we're taking a look at it, and please refrain from speaking unless given leave by the moderator. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. So for everyone's benefit, when the motion was made to move this article as written in Appendix G. Writing in Appendix G is different than what is in the main body of the warrant. So if you look at Appendix G under Article 10, it clarifies the point that the speaker was just trying to make in that rooftop mechanicals and rooftop solar are stricken from the first sentence, and then, so it makes sense. So under the first sentence, certain things are included within the building height, and rooftop mechanicals and rooftop solar are taken out. In the second sentence, it's made clear that rooftop mechanicals and rooftop solar will be included in the overall height of the building. So that inconsistency was cleared up in Appendix G.
Thank you, sir. Over there? All right.
Can I just ask a question, just another clarifying on that?
Sure.
In the event that this is passed, would it be hopefully rewritten in a more clear manner? Unfortunately, we do have a history in this town of developers coming in, saying one thing, working with us to get their project approved, and then selling it off. So to make if this does get passed, I would hope that that would be corrected so that there is no wiggle room. But also, I do feel that it's written unclearly. We have one thing saying one thing, an appendix saying another.
So
You could argue either way. I feel like if somebody came in.
No. So it's quite clear that Appendix G is the intent. So that part is clear. If Appendix G is unclear in any way, shape, or form, then I suggest you point that out or amend accordingly. Yeah.
Kim Shea, 148 Plymouth Street. I just want to clarify that I honestly don't have a problem with a 65-foot building. I would actually be for these zoning bylaw changes if they had actually been written by our planning board. We vote a planning board in to do these jobs. I want to make it clear that what is on this warrant are zoning bylaw changes written by the redevelopment authority. They have no authority to write our zoning bylaws. What's the point of having a planning board if other people get to decide what the zoning bylaws are going to be, and we have a select board, at least some of them, who are going to allow them to be put on a warrant and put in front of us, without most of you even knowing they have no authority by state law to have these, to write our zoning bylaws for us. And they did this before even anyone got to listen. The planning board had a chance to listen to what the public had to say. They voted for these before a public hearing. I think that speaks it all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Alan Dunham, 11 Ricard Street. I know there's a contentious issue, at least it seems to be. I would like to point out, and it was mentioned by Mr. Sapri Moore, there is an agreement in place with the developer, which amounts to a total of about $7 million for our public safety if this for this project to go forward. If this gets voted down, or any of these 10 get voted down, then that project will likely not happen, and it will likely mean no $7 million. So if somebody else comes in by right, puts in a 40-foot tall, 18,000 or million, however large the building is, you're still going to need a ladder truck by the fire department. We're still going to need extra police. We're still going to need extra coverage for EMS, but then it becomes you, all the taxpayers. It's going to fall on them. So, and especially I appreciate Ms. Shea saying that, she doesn't mind the 65 feet. Well, to say that the RDA cannot go ahead and make bylaws, we just approved last meeting a change to a bylaw which put a moratorium on one of our bylaws, saying we had to put a moratorium. That wasn't the planning board that went ahead and put that in. That was the citizens, which is, I think it's great. Citizens have a right to petition. Basically, the RDA voted by members of the town of Carver. Those members are all voted by the town. So I sincerely ask that you go ahead and don't look for the betterment of the town, not getting all upset because, well, the planning board didn't do it. It was the RDA. It's something the town needs. and I'm not going to get hung up on who wrote it. So I urge the body to go ahead and approve this, as well as the following articles that go ahead and make the zoning change so this project can go forward, so we can finally use that area, which was designed for 20, 30 years ago. This is our first and best chance to go ahead and get some money into the town for it. Thank you.
Have a point of order. You'd have to wait your turn to speak, yeah.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. Donna Ferran, 278 Village Way in Carver. I just had a question, the difference between the 40-foot and the 65 feet. My understanding, and I would like clarification on this, does this mean that the extra 25 feet, we get to collect taxes on that extra 25 feet? Would it be more money that the town would get from the developer?
Who would be qualified to answer that question?
Question was on the extra 25 feet, will the town be able to collect more?
Mr. Moderator, through you, the building is taxed on the square footage, not the cubic footage.
Okay, I have not recognized you to answer the question.
Mr. Moderator, through you. Savory Moore, Vice Chair of the Redevelopment Authority. The change in value, the assessed value of the property would be significant, going up in a height of 65 feet. Since we do not know the tenant yet, and we won't know the tenant until this vote is taken, we don't know what that building is going to exactly be at the end. There is also something called personal property taxes, which is a tax on the materials that goes inside the building. In the case of a racking system, which is worth a lot more than just shelving, those personal property taxes would be higher at the outset. Personal property taxes diminish like an excise tax on your car, so the taxes would go down. But the initial outlay of taxes, or the income from taxes on personal property of all the stuff that goes inside the building, would be significant as well, and is probably, with the 65-foot, a difference of between $1.5 to $1.8 million for a 65-foot building, and less than $1 million in the first year for a building that's 40 feet or less. So it's a difference of $800,000 to $1 million in the first year.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Rob Reardon, 30 Priscilla Mullins Way. A lot of talk about millions of dollars that are coming to public safety. Can we hear from our public safety officials so we can start to hear what's been offered? That hasn't been presented yet. Could we hear from the police chief, fire chief, EMS chief?
So we've been given information about what's been offered. What further information would you like, sir?
I'd like to hear their input on it, whether this is a project they support, what it's bringing to our town.
So that would be up to them to determine whether they want to comment on that.
And this would be the difference.
Hold on one sec. The question is for our public safety folks.
Well, okay. I'm going to tell you why they're.
The question is for our public safety folks first to comment.
He's in favor.
Thank you. Craig Weston, 17 Merrill Street, your fire chief. Really not sure where to go with this, but as your fire chief, I believe you deserve the best information possible to make the best decision you can for what's best for public safety. I'm sure I'll get cut off, but I'll do the best I can to try to educate you.
Just make sure to have your comments focused on the merits of what the other speaker asked for. So just focus on whether or not you recommend the proposed article.
So again, Craig Weston, your fire chief. Based on the zoning article that's before you, and as one of your public safety chiefs, it's my obligation to outline and share our public safety concerns for the concerns, research conducted, process implemented, and conclusions in regards to the Green Business Park proposed zoning changes for the 40 to 60-foot height. It will never be our intention to tell you, the residents of Carver, how to vote on the zoning amendments, but to provide each of you the facts from a public safety point of view. One of the zoning articles is to increase the allowable building height in this green business park from 40 to 65 feet in height. Increased building height combined with a proposed 1.2 million square foot building and a 600,000 square foot building are an extremely limited municipal water for fire protection, obviously has the potential to create severe fire safety issues for our first responders.
Right, so I'm just going to stop you for a sec here. So we're talking about the merits of a particular project, and the article is discussing a zoning bylaw change to building height. So we need to keep the conversation focused on what your opinion or what your findings are with regards to a change in building height, but not necessarily with regards to individual projects. So we have heard about several different individual projects that might be affected by this zoning article, and I've allowed it because I think it's important for people to understand what kind of projects this might permit in order to see what those benefits to the town may be. But similar to the way we proceeded on the first night, I think we need to stay focused on the merits of the building height itself.
All right, through you, Mr. Moderator, I'll do the best I can. It's my responsibility to protect my firefighters, our police officers, and our emergency workers. So I can only read and do the best I can here. What I wanted to say is the current zoning in the Green Business Park allows for a 40-foot building height and up to 1.8 million square feet. Please understand that Carver Public Safety cannot protect the people and infrastructure that is currently allowed to be constructed there due to the current allowable zoning. Your public safety chiefs have chosen to solve that problem by developing a CBA mitigation agreement with the developer. My first goal was to identify all the hazards in the area for fire safety that a large-scale facility at 65 feet in height could bring to our unique community. The similar approach was undertaken by both the Carver Police and Carver EMS chiefs. With potential hazards and concerns identified, we have been working nonstop with fire protection engineers, consultants from Hillwood to ensure state-of-the-art fire protection systems will be incorporated into the building's design. Calculations of needed water for fire flows based on a 65-foot building have been performed with continued discussions on quantities of on-site fire protection water tank ongoing. At a minimum, with our CBA agreement, there will be a 1 million plus gallons of on-site storage water, and if permits are granted, access to an on-site pond for additional fire protection waters. Based on a 65-foot height, through our investigations and consultants, we have also identified fire apparatus, police and EMS apparatus, public safety personnel, specialized fire equipment, and training limitations that need to be addressed and acquired for our department, specifically for this development that takes place in the Green Business District at a 65-foot height. And again, we can't protect at 40-foot height that's currently allowed right now. The last step we took was to develop a community benefits agreement with a developer based on a 65-foot height. Last week, the Board of Selectmen and the developer signed that agreement, putting that into effect. That agreement is for $7 million. That agreement covers over 1 million gallons of water that is needed for a 65-foot height, building height, and also a 40-foot building height. That agreement covers all equipment and apparatus that will be the sole property of the town of Carver. All of that equipment will be in service within each public safety facility and will enable public safety personnel responders to be used across our entire town for the benefit of everyone in this room, not just the Hillwood development. That equipment can be purchased once a building permit is issued. It looks like the building would take about 18 months to build, and it allows us to place that order and get that equipment and get our training in order for a building of either 40 or 60 feet in height. Any personnel costs for Carver EMS and police will be paid each year for 3 years. Like I said before, over 1 million gallons of fire protection water will be provided. If we didn't have this agreement, NFPA only allows 150,000 gallons of water to protect a 1.8 million square foot building at 40 feet in height and at 60 feet in height. Again, we're going to have over 1 million gallons on site, plus access to a water source on site. With this agreement, the developer receives no preferential treatment on any permits or zoning changes. This is strictly mitigation. This agreement covers public safety concerns for 2 or 3 scenarios that could play out tonight for a 40 or 65-foot height. First, if the zoning height is changed to 65 feet at town meeting and Hillwood chooses to continue with the project, our agreement would be in effect. And we feel that we can properly protect the people in that building and anyone who works in that building. Second, if zoning height is not approved at town meeting and Hillwood still chooses to continue with the development of the project at 40 feet in height, our CBA mitigation agreement is still in effect for public safety. We worked hard to make sure that happened. However, third and most important, if the zoning height is not approved at town meeting and Hillwood decides not to continue, and another developer or developer decides to pick up the project at the allowable zoning height of 40 feet and allowable 1.8 million square feet, there is no mitigation agreement. Additionally, any new developer or developers are not required by law to provide us, public safety, with a CBA mitigation agreement, leaving public safety with limited options to mitigate potential hazards within the future development site. If that happens, the cost of needed public safety items outlined in our agreement and documents, as well as not having adequate water on site to protect the facility, will fall on each of us as taxpayers to fund the needed $7 million of public safety costs. I have also heard the statement that the fire department cannot protect workers and the facility at 65 feet in height requested in the zoning amendment. That is absolutely true. Without a CBA mitigation agreement, that is true. But what I want everyone to know and understand is we cannot adequately protect the workers and structures that will be able to be built right now under the current Green Business Park zoning bylaw of 40 feet. And we cannot protect the workers and structures at the allowable square footage of almost 1.8 million square feet currently allowed in the Green Business District without a CBA mitigation agreement. We can, however, provide proper public safety for a development in the Green Business District if Hillwood decides to move forward, as our CBA mitigation agreement is with Hillwood only. That decision is for you, the voting members, to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh. Who is first?
I'll always defer to you. Please go. Chief, it's all you.
I'll keep it
Chief,
short.
yeah.
I concur with everything the fire chief just said. I think after tonight's vote, you'll recognize that something is going there. And at 65 feet, we end up with the manpower and the equipment to be able to support that. We're going to need that either way. So however you vote, it's completely up to the people in this room. We support that, but we've worked hard to make sure that we have what we need to protect not just that building, but everybody in this room if the project moves forward. And it sounds to me like the project's moving forward, so I would definitely consider the height as something you want to vote for. But we've worked long and hard with them. I can tell you that my efforts included looking at other projects up in North Andover, Freetown, and Kingston to see what they got out of it. Those projects got nothing. This project, moving forward, has a written agreement that we can enforce if we move forward to the 65-foot height and the project continues on. So that's just what I have to say. If I have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Chief. I think Mr. Belvin, no?
No, let him go.
You want to go? Okay.
Matt Keniston, 9 Center Street. This is just for, in the pertinence to height and comparisons with surrounding communities and areas for their height allowances. Just comparably, Bourne has allowances of 52 feet in height, Kingston 55, Plymouth 60, Middleborough 65, and Bridgewater 70. So obviously, if a developer were looking to build something very specific, such as one of these warehouses, there's plenty of other options available if we were to turn that down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Who's next? Mr. Bellman, are you speaking from the select board, or are you
Yeah, I'm going to
speaking?
speak as a select board.
Okay.
Yeah, please. So I want to make it clear that I'm in favor of the 65-foot height. I think the mitigation agreement that was agreed upon by the Board of Selectmen is good for the town. What I'm not happy about with this article itself is the process that it came through. There's always a process that has to be done, and the process wasn't done right. And that's where I think our town council needs to look at this and say, was the process done right? So this doesn't get challenged through the Attorney General's office. Because all this work that we do now, to vote in favor or against it, could always supplementally get thrown out at the Attorney General's office if the process was not done adequately. And that's my fear. This proposal going from 40 to 65, there's no difference. We still need all the equipment. And as the chief said, they worked hard on this mitigation agreement to support our town to make sure we have enough. But in my opinion, the process wasn't done right. And so just food for thought. Thank you.
For the benefit of town meeting, I have asked Mr. Corbo to respond.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. It is my opinion that the process was done correctly with respect to all of these zoning articles. An argument has been advanced that zoning articles can only be initiated by certain groups of public officials in the town, including the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. I do not agree with that interpretation of the law. And there is court precedent that supports my interpretation of the law that zoning amendments can be initiated by others than the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. In any event, these proposals went through a rigorous public process, including numerous public hearings before the Redevelopment Authority, numerous joint public hearings between the Redevelopment Authority and the Planning Board. The article was placed onto the warrant by a vote of the Board of Selectmen, just like all of the other articles. The article was submitted to the Planning Board. The Planning Board held a duly noticed public hearing. It is therefore my opinion that the procedure is proper. Can I prevent someone from bringing a challenge to either the Attorney General or the court? No, of course not. And these issues may be decided in that manner. However, it is my opinion that these articles are properly in front of you and are procedurally correct to be voted upon tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan.
Michael Ryan, 28 Birch Street. I'm your EMS chief as well. I just wanted to add on, in fact, from Chief Weston and Chief Dufley, that we did go through a pretty big process to look at this mitigation for the height of the building, how it could impact the town, how it could impact all the services, especially public safety. And with the working of the RDA and the potential builder, we got a mitigation agreement that I feel protects my department and protects the community as best we can, so we can still provide the services to the residents while also handling the impact of any additional calls we may have to handle at such a distribution site, whether it's built by Hillwood or whether it's built by anyone else. Something's going to be built there, and we're going to have to handle it. And as being a department that is fully self-funded, the only way I can work to make sure we continue that way is through the mitigation process we went through to get the equipment and the staffing to make sure we can handle the calls that may have happened in town with such a building. They were gracious enough to work with us. The next person may not, and may not have to work with us. And then that may cause a problem for all public safety. We may have to rely on taxpayers to help us with that. So, thank you.
Ryan. I think you were first over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in North
Name and address,
Andover-
please.
Kim Branch, 2 Cherry Hill Drive, that in North Andover, when Hillwood took it over, because we were discussing about how many taxes, they said that they weren't going to be accepting any TIFs, which is a tax increment financing. But once they made the purchase, the town gave them $27 million in tax relief over 10 years. And that really was frustrating for the residents. So I think we're talking about millions of dollars. Once they purchase it, they may come back and ask for a TIF as well. And in North Andover, it was $27 million. Thank you.
What did that have to do with the height?
What's that?
What did that have to do with the height?
If you want to speak, you have to
Yeah, I do.
wait your turn. Well, all right, we have someone in front of you.
No, it's all right, I'll wait.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator, through you, town meeting. I'm Thomas Bott. I'm the interim town planner here in Carver. I've been here since January 31 and have basically been shepherding this through the process. The amendments to the articles, 10, 11, 12 through 17, are all in Appendix G and they're marked. During the process, what you see in the article is what showed up at the hearing on March 30th. So that was what was proposed, and on the night of March 30th, we had that discussion, and we had a second discussion on March 31st and brought this amended language. The amended language for all these articles is in Article G, and all of them have positive recommendations from the Planning Board. In the case of this one, recommendation of the Planning Board is 3-2. So it came in as one thing, it came out as a second thing, and that's what you'd expect in a hearing. If someone comes in with a bylaw that doesn't get changed at all, you're either amazingly perfect or you're disingenuous about the process of looking and making amendments to the articles. So it came in as one thing on the 30th. It was amended on the 31st, heard a second time, and then voted by the Planning Board, in this case with a 3-2 recommendation. All the recommendations of the Planning Board are in the warrant, and the final language is in Appendix G, if that helps clarify any confusion as people are looking at what's actually being discussed. And happy to take any questions at some point in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Germain.
Ellen Germain, 24 Pine Street. This kind of surprises me tonight. It really does. For 8 months, we've been talking about this. These gentlemen have been in meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, trying to put this agreement together. So, and Savory asked me, how do we simplify this? What's the easiest way to explain this? And it's very simple. We get to build something 40 feet high and we get nothing. Or we get to build something 65 feet high and we get a $7 million agreement and no regard to a TIF that they don't have to build in Carver. They can go to Middleborough for a lower tax rate. They can go to Plymouth for a lower tax rate, or they can build it in Carver, which they've agreed to do, and hand the town $7 million. From a FinCom standpoint, that's a hell of a deal. And they're going to build something is going to go there. Whether it's 40 feet high and we get a huge tax bill and a bond we have to go buy equipment with, or 65 feet high and we get to say thank you and buy some new equipment and don't have to borrow any money. Those are the two choices that are within this height thing. That's all it's all about. The rest is smoke, mirrors, and you stepped on my toes and you shouldn't have and you didn't and you should have, and it's nonsense.
Thank you, Mr. Germain. Mr. Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Cornelia Shea, 148 Plymouth Street, Carver. I don't have a little sheet here with all these kind of speculative numbers on it, so I'm just going to have to do the best I can. The simple truth is we don't know what's going in there. I'm for the development of the Green Business Park. I'm for the 40-foot development, but the facts are all the numbers that are in here are based on a MEPA process that was done for a 40-foot building 4 years ago on a Monday through Friday 12-hour day. The numbers are going to change. It's as simple as that. When you're told there's going to be, well, this sheet says 8,500 trips a day, what they're not telling you is that's based on a 12-hour day Monday through Friday, not a 24/7 as the ZBA is proposing here. The planning board must approve.
Is this relevant to the building height?
Yes, this is all relevant to the building.
I don't see where this is going to the building height.
Okay, in regards to the building height,
We're talking about traffic and whatnot.
it was brought up already previously by, yes, so I'm allowed to talk about it if they're allowed to talk about it, correct? It's not an us and them, I'm just asking for equal treatment.
I mean, yeah, and I'm trying my best to unravel all this.
Right, okay, well, the traffic numbers that were proposed and that are on this sheet are wildly out of touch with the project. And as you allowed him to read this whole sheet, I should be able to talk to this sheet without it being on my time. So,
Without it being on your time, no.
well,
You have 3 minutes.
okay. Well, the planning board, in regards to 65-foot height, must approve anything allowed in the bylaws. That's problematic when it comes to this because it doesn't allow us to go through the public hearing process to address appropriate safety measures, site conditions, and mitigation to be addressed. In regards to the $7 million mitigation contract that's being proposed to the town, that's a partial mitigation contract, and as Hillwood testified at the public hearings, it would have to be readdressed in regards to the building height. If the building height stays at 40 feet, they'll have to readdress it. The planning board has never, and speaking as a private citizen, has never moved forward with any project without the full recommendations and support of the fire department and the police department. So regardless, by moving it up to 65 feet, what you're going to do is you're going to take the public hearing process out. You will not have a say in it anymore. Much like battery storage, the 65-foot height.
Guys, keep it quiet, please.
And you don't know what's going in there.
You don't have leave of the moderator, then please do not speak.
And the biggest problem is you don't know what's going in there. I don't know what's going in there.
Mr. Shea, I'll give you a few more seconds, but you need to wrap it
As
up.
it is, this is the 7th largest facility proposed in North America, 15th largest in the world. Of course we're not prepared for it. It should go through the proper channels. It should have gone through the planning board, and it should have been properly vetted. You can see that all the changes that were made to this particular article in Appendix G, those weren't made by the planning board, they were made by the RDA on the recommendations made by the planning board on the one public hearing that we had that covered 2 nights in regard to this, that we had to address in 20, 25 minutes. Each one of these things. That's
Okay,
what we
Mr.
were
Shea,
allowed to
that's
do.
time. Thank you, sir.
And I would like to make a motion to submit Article 10 to the planning board without prejudice for further review.
So we already have a motion on the floor. We can't take another motion. We can have an amendment to the motion.
I'm asking, well,
Can't have a main motion under a main motion, so we need a subsidiary motion, which would be an amendment.
understood.
Mr. Moderator, may
Wait another hour.
Here it comes.
Feels so bad.
Is the main motion that we vote, the original?
What? Yeah, oh yeah. You were right. I can't believe it.
Is the main motion that we vote?
Really can't.
Is that what the main motion is?
There's been nothing.
To bring my wife up some candy.
Well, nothing I've seen anyway. It's just
Carver's got her lunch.
Please quiet down, thank you.
Help yourself by this. Send some of this down there, would you? Please? Anybody?
Well, Alan's not making any sort of insinuations.
I would. Instead of.
He's not insinuating anything.
He might be.
Where else here? Thank you.
Rappery.
That's a late another. Wait. Get on the plane. No.
Pretty busy.
Oh, no way. No. Started this at 6:15.
should sit down and we should vote on it. She. The chief. The chief.
Hey, I brought my bag over there and he said no. Oh, your wife said. Oh, we didn't have chocolate.
Alan, we got some more over here.
Okay, all right. All right, quiet down. Mr. Shea, please approach the microphone. So what you're looking for is a motion to commit
Submit.
the decision to a committee, okay? So, so that would be permissible. It is debatable. It would require a majority vote, and we need a motion and a second on that.
My motion would be to submit Article 10 to the Planning Board without prejudice for further review.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to commit this decision, this article to the Planning Board. Yep, thank you, sir. All right, and it is debatable, so we'll go ahead and open that to debate. Everybody, there's a lot of movement in the aisles, and there's a lot of collecting around the microphones or whatever. It makes it really hard for me to determine who is there first and so on. So I please ask everybody to sit down until it looks like the person's wrapping up, and then we'll have you kind of follow up. So, Mr. Clark.
Ron Clark, 3 Bolton Street. Just going back to something that was announced at the very start of this discussion, the Planning Board recommended this article 3-2. To listen to what the discussion, you would think that they were all against this. This was recommended by the majority of the Planning Board 3-2.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to address, I know there's a motion on the floor, but I'd like to address some of the comments that Mr. Shea made prior to him making.
We'll have to address those when we get back to that motion, if we get back to the motion. So right now we have to discuss the merits of committing this to the Planning Board.
I think some of the facts are important in people determining how this vote goes.
Okay, let's see where it goes.
It was brought up that the Planning Board had no say in this, and that the Redevelopment Authority took the reins on this. We had a joint meeting on May 11th of 2021. It's available for anybody to view on YouTube. At the 47-minute, 36-second mark, Mr. Shea said to Ms. Clark, the chair of the RDA, "One of the things you should consider when you're crafting the bylaw," and he went on from there. So that was our tacit approval to proceed with crafting the bylaw ourselves. I just wanted to point that out, and it's available for anybody to see. Mr. Shea also brought up saying that this was the 15th largest facility in the world. I'm not sure where he got those numbers, but they're based on a listing of structures, warehouses available from CoStar, a warehouse leasing database. The larger of the 2 buildings being presented.
This part's not relevant to the.
It's answering his question.
I didn't have any questions, please, and just for clarification, not one of my single recommendations.
Yeah, excuse me, you have to speak through me, Mr. Shea. There's no, you're not owed a rebuttal, sorry.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, the gentleman did make a claim about the size of the building relationship to the rest.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've asked you to be quiet, so please hold and wait for your turn. Thank you.
Thank you. Based on a listing of structures from CoStar, a warehouse leasing database, the larger of the 2 buildings at 1.2 million square feet would rank 363rd in size in the United States. The 2 buildings combined, if you were to do that, would rank 98th, a far cry from 7th largest in the country.
Mr. Moderator, for clarification.
Hold on one sec. I've not given you the floor. Thank you. Please pay attention to the rules. I believe this gentleman was here before you, and you've already had one opportunity to speak.
Dan Badger, 165 Plymouth Street. I just needed some clarification regarding height, if that's still in order to ask a question.
No, because at this point, we're discussing the merits of whether or not to refer this back to the Planning Board.
Well, regarding decisions that the planning board would make regarding the zoning bylaw, I just want to get clarification if this is restricted to the Green Park only, or if this is a town-wide zoning change.
So the amendment discusses the green building park only. Yeah.
It does, because that's where the project is, but I believe in the everything I've read, it's not restricted to the green zone park, however. And
we'd have to clarify that. So how does this bear on the merit of referring? So are you saying we should refer it back to the planning board because there's some uncertainty regarding it?
my reason for asking is I'm wondering, I'm not opposed to the development project, but I'm wondering if this opens the door to other developments in other parts of the town, was my concern.
That question is not valid regarding the current motion that's on the floor. So the current motion on the floor is whether or not to refer this back to the planning board. So are you saying that bears somehow on whether or not to refer it back to the planning board?
Yes.
How so?
Well, okay. Can I defer?
I think Mr. Corbo can answer your question.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. So in Article 10, it is to see if the town will vote to amend the Carver zoning bylaw to increase the maximum building height in the Green Business Park zoning district. This is not amending any other provisions of the zoning bylaw.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, then, just a question for council then. Does that mean that a precedent is not set for development in other parts of the town?
Through you, Mr. Moderator. That's correct. The other districts in the town have their own requirements for height, and so buildings in those districts would have to comply with whatever height requirements are applicable in those districts. This amendment only applies to the Green Business Park.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bruce Mackey, 9 Thatcher Street, Carver, and Chairman of the Planning Board. I just want to say that this has been in the works for a long time, and we did walks on the site of the planning board members and the owners of the property, along with the RDA last summer, to look at the site, how it would affect the neighbors, and we also discussed the building heights. And so, you know, this is something that the planning board was well aware of over a year ago. You know, every time the subject's brought up, everybody thinks, it's just like everybody says, gee, we never heard of this. It's like it was only brought up last week. But this is an ongoing project that's been worked on, and the planning board's been informed about for over a year now. When it came to us, I thought that we were working with the RDA. We had meetings before with the RDA, and they requested that we work with them. And I felt that the last 2 meetings that we had were to participate and to work with the RDA, and that's why we had the corrections in the appendix, because the planning board did make some input, and there were changes to what the RDA brought before us. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you. I think he was next. Yeah.
Mr. Moderator, Ben Dexter, 149 High Street. With all due respect to Mr. Jermaine, I'm asking that we move the question.
Yeah, we will move it as soon as we have no new information. So, Mr. Jermaine, new information, yes or no?
My only new information.
What's that?
New
information regarding committing this to the planning board.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, if you do this, then this needs to be dealt with at the fall town meeting, and then the AG's office takes 90 days to 120 days. So we may not know until the spring of next year, and then we don't know if Hill was going to still be even interested. So, and Stephen just pointed out, and it's valid, the stake is already on the table. This entire vote tonight is nothing more than the garnish, because the stake is already there. So I'd like us also to move the question.
Okay. Over here, do we have new information?
Yes.
Okay.
John Gasky, 162 Plymouth Street. The unfortunate side of this thing is that these series of bylaws for this amounts to spot zoning. It's changing bylaws for one specific project. That's where the planning board has issues with it. Me, as a member of the planning board, that's where I have issues with it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Forrend?
Donna Ferrand, 278 South Meadow Village. Also, I just have one comment. If I heard this correctly, the planning board has already voted on this 3-2 and approved it. And now we have members of that same board coming before all you residents in the town and telling you not to vote to support your planning board. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Shea, is it new information? What's that?
It's just a clarification. Cornelia Shea, 148 Plymouth Street. It's not a
Mr.
clarification.
Shea, Mr. Shea, I will.
No, it's new information then. How about that? Because what was said before is not true. So as far as new information goes, the planning board was not allowed to make, change, or amend these bylaws. They were only allowed, the RDA wrote them, changed them, and put them on the warrant. And it hasn't gone through a proper vetting process. Every allowed usage has to be taken into account in regards to this bylaw. There's a lot of uses, hotels, hospitals, planned neighborhoods, retail outlets that are allowed on this property. And we just don't know what's going in there, and it needs further clarification. Please vote.
Move to question.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, new information.
Is it new information, or are you rebutting the other person?
I'm asking Mr. Gasky to explain how this is spot zoning, since it includes an entire district.
Okay, so I think that's more of a comment, so, okay. I think we've heard enough on this. We do have a motion to move the question. We will go ahead and dispense with this at this point. So we're going to go ahead and put this to a vote. Again, this is a majority vote.
Can you please repeat what the actual motion is and what
Yes.
we're voting?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So the motion is from the floor to submit Article 10 to the Planning Board for further review. A yes vote would submit it to the Planning Board for further review and dispense with it for this evening. A no vote would not submit it to the Planning Board for further review, and we would return to Article 10 and finish out the debate on that and vote on it. Point of order, majority vote or 2/3? It is a majority vote. All right, and we will go ahead and open the vote.
Watch this.
10 seconds.
The two people who said having a ballot on that again.
And we'll close the vote. Okay, so the motion does not pass by majority vote with a vote of 47 yes and 129 no. So we are back to Article 10. I will entertain any further debate that has new information. Hold on. Has new information with regards to Article 10. Are you about to make a point of order? Because this gentleman was here before you.
I was just going to say move the original article.
All right.
That's what I was going to do too.
Okay. So,
Call the question.
sir, do you have new information?
New information. Rob Bearden, 30 Priscilla Mullins Way. I just want to talk quickly about what other towns have got for projects like this. I have a little bit of experience. If you look at a town like Kingston, who just recently put in an Amazon facility, they got $250,000, a fraction of what's been negotiated. I want you to listen to what your fire chief just said, your police chief and your EMS chief. This is what they need to protect us. It's not only going to protect this facility, it's also going to protect you when you need help. So please, think about that.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and put this to a vote. You have a point of order?
I have new information, and I've been sitting there so politely the whole time.
Wow. With a face like that, how could we resist? Okay. Please. Just
Sean
take a break,
Bogart,
please.
116 Cranberry Road. No matter the height, I won't see this from my house. I'm probably as far away as you can get from this site. I do have a question, though, between the 40 and 65-foot height requirement. I did ask this question to the committee, whatever they're called now.
RDA?
Sorry, RDA, thank you. And thank you, Hillwood did get back to me with an answer which did not answer the question. So I'd like to ask it again in case they now have more information. At 65 feet versus 40 feet, what is the power requirement for this site? And that being said, is at 65 feet, are we expecting that there will need to be a transmission line built through perhaps North Carver, up Route 58, High Street, Plymouth Street, you name it? Will there be a new substation built to provide power to this facility at that height? That would be assuming there would be greater power requirements, more megawatts that would be at that taller height versus the 40-foot building where you say we can build a plethora of different style shops and buildings, what have you, where maybe the power grid is capable of handling the load requirement for that site without major upgrades that people don't see coming?
Can anyone comment on whether the height of the building has any bearing on the electrical consumption or necessity to build additional infrastructure?
Savory Moore from the Redevelopment Authority. The quick answer is no, we don't have any more information. The longer answer is we do not know who the tenant is, therefore we do not know what the needs are. The tenant will be decided or determined based on the height of the building. A higher building will bring in a better tenant, a longer-term leased tenant. A smaller building or buildings may not. So until we know a tenant, we're not going to know what their needs are. And just like you wouldn't buy a house before you knew how many rooms it had, the same thing is true here. No tenant is going to sign a lease not knowing how big and how tall the building is.
Right, and if I may not vote to approve a height increase if I don't know that someone's backyard may now be part of a transmission right-of-way with, extremely high structures and high voltage lines through their backyard. So without that information, unfortunately, I won't be able to vote on this article. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this to a vote now. So this is for Article 10, Table Dimensional Requirements, Building Height in Green Business Park. This requires a 2/3 vote. Select Board took no action. Planning Board voted 3-2. And we will now go ahead and open the vote.
It's going to fail.
I mean, dear God.
It's going to fail.
That was not a good reaction.
10 seconds. And we'll close the vote.
Yep.
Okay, so the article passes with a 2/3 majority with 131 yes and 44 no. Moving on. Article 11. Definitions, height of certain accessory structures. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town approve Article 11 as amended in Appendix G as set forth in the warrant.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Do we have any presentation on this by the, well, we've already addressed that there's really no sponsors on these, right?
Point of order, Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
I'd move to reconsider the previous vote of the previous article.
You can't use a point of order to make a motion to reconsider, and there's already a motion on the floor. The motion to reconsider is a subsidiary motion to another motion, so you'll have to wait until this one's done. We can also table this one if you want to.
Motion to table Article 11.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to table Article 11.
No debate.
Yeah, this is not debatable, and it is a...
Bless you.
Requires a 2/3 vote. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put this to a vote. Okay, a yes vote on this would lay Article 11, which we've just opened, on the table, and a no vote would continue discussion on Article 11. So we'll go ahead and open the vote.
Definitely.
10 seconds. And we'll close the vote. Okay, the motion carries at a 2/3 majority with 122 yes and 38 no. So we have a motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we go ahead and reconsider the vote of Article 10.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to reconsider Article 10. This is debatable, and per the bylaws, this can only be moved once and requires a 2/3 vote. So we'll go ahead and open it for debate. Seeing no motion to the mics, we'll go ahead and put this to a vote.
Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
Would you explain the yes and no vote in case anyone's
Yes.
unclear?
Yep. A yes vote would bring Article 10 up for reconsideration. We'd bring it back open for debate and vote on it again. A no vote would not reconsider Article 10. And as I mentioned, this can only be moved once and requires a 2/3 vote, so we would not be able to bring it up again after voting no.
Puts it to bed.
All right, so we'll go ahead and open the vote.
Come on, people.
I forgot about that whole reconsideration thing.
10 seconds. And we'll close the vote. Okay, the motion does not carry with a 2/3 majority. We had 40 yes and 128 no.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I move we take Article 11 off the table.
A motion to take Article 11 off the table. Motion and seconded. We are now taking Article 11 off the table, and we will open it up for debate. Article 11 is not...
Mr. Moderator, Bruce Mackey, 9 Thatcher Street, Chairman of the Planning Board. I'd just like to say that on this particular article, Article 11, the Planning Board voted unanimously 5-0 to approve.
Hold on one second, sir. We may have made a procedural error.
Why do you have to vote to take it off the table? I don't think so. You can't just leave it on the table. You can't. You need to take it off the table.
All right, so we have to dispense with the motion to take Article 11 off the table before we get into debate on Article 11. And the motion to take Article 11 off the table is not debatable, does require a 2/3 vote, so we have a quick vote here to get this out of the way.
Got to vote to get it off the table.
Okay, so a yes vote will take Article 11 off the table and bring it back open for debate. A no vote will not take Article 11 off the table, and we move on to our next item of business. So with that said, we will go ahead and open the vote.
10 our time.
10 seconds. And we'll close the vote. Okay, the motion passes by 2/3 majority with 109 yes and 48 no. So we are now taking Article 11 off the table, and we will now open it for debate. Nope. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Moderator. Whoops, whoa. How did this happen?
Mr. Moderator, point
things
of
are
order.
terrible.
Was that 2/3? Point of order, I'm sorry. Was that?
It was a 2/3 majority.
The vote wasn't 2/3. It was 108 to.
You want to put that back up on the screen?
My lord.
I'm
Ridiculous.
I just didn't catch it. That's why I wasn't even sure if it was a 2/3. I just want clarification, please.
Come on.
Jeez Louise.
We have to have it. Yep. So with 157 people voting and us needing 2/3 of that number, that would be 103. So we got 109. So we're good. Okay, we'll go ahead and open Article 11 up for debate. Mr. Moore.
All right, thank you. Just to give you a quick overview of what this article is, this article is to allow an accessory structure for water towers and water tanks for fire suppression. It is separate from the water tower that's going to be turned over to the town for tying into the North Carver Water District. A yes vote on this means that the developer will build water storage tanks for the fire department's use. A no vote would mean that alternate means of water for fire suppression would be required. Simple as that.
Sir, are you waiting to speak in the middle?
No.
Okay. All right, with no further motions to the mics and no hands raised, this does require a 2/3 vote. Select Board took no action. The Planning Board voted 5-0. So with that, a yes vote would vote in the affirmative to approve Article 11. A no vote would not. We'll go ahead and open the vote.
Okay.
10 seconds. We'll close the vote. Okay, Article 11, definitions of the height of certain accessory structures is approved with 2/3 majority, 135 yes and 32 no. Moving on to Article 12.